Hey everyone, it's Daniel and Robert of The Last Nighters. We are The Last Nighters, and we're talking about Super Troopers tonight on the 15th episode of Last Nighters. And you can find the show notes and more at lastnighters.com/15. How you doing, Robert? We're about to get into the Google description on Super Troopers here.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Hopefully you watched this movie slightly altered. If you didn't, you're doing it wrong. But, hey, whatever. Live your life, man. Let's do this.
All right, let's do this indeed. So Super Troopers came out 2001, and there's a new Super Troopers 2 coming out this week, and so that's why we're doing this. It seemed relevant. It's a comedy/mystery/crime caper movie put out by Broken Lizard, and it got 7.1 on the IMDb, 35% Rotten Tomatoes, and 4.4 out of 5 on Facebook. That's a new rating system we haven't seen before. And 87% of Google users like it. So this is one where the critics hated it and the fan base loved it. This definitely became a cult classic. And here is the description. Always looking for action, 5 overenthusiastic but understimulated Vermont state troopers raise hell on the highway, keeping motorists anxiously looking in their rearview mirrors. Between an ongoing feud with the local cops over whose you-know-what is bigger and the state government wanting to shut them down, the Super Troopers find themselves precariously and hilariously heading toward calamity as they try to avoid extinction. Release date, January 19, 2001. Directors Jay Chandrasekhar. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but he is, what do they call him, Ramrod in this?
Yeah, he's like the main character.
Yeah, main character, Ramathorn. Budget of $3 million, box office of $23.1 million, so did very well in relation to the amount of money that went into making this thing, and it, I think, has lived on very strongly in the aftermarket with that cult classic status. What's your take on the Google info there?
Yeah, it's all pretty accurate. I would just have to say that I think it earns its 34% Rotten Tomato score. The fan scores, I'm sure there's a fair amount of nostalgia wrapped into those scores, or just people who, don't care going in to see like a really good movie. They're just there to have a good time. So, it's a movie that, can work for you if you don't expect it to do too much. But for me, watching it again after all these years, I probably expected it to do more than it did. Yeah,
I would agree. It's a movie that I do have fonder memories of because it was at a time in my life when I could watch just portions of a movie for the humor that's in that like 5 or 10 minute scene or that moment. And I didn't care so much about the overall story that was going on. So this is one of those that it can just be on and you can catch it at any point where it's like playing on some random cable network, right? And you could still like enjoy watching it for 20 minutes and then go back to doing something else. But in watching it last night, or a couple of nights ago now, it really does have some dark shit in it. I mean, they play on fear that they put into the populace, and they use that to fuck with people. And they totally abuse the authority. And watching it now, as I've moved further along in my, journey into advocating for actual human freedom, voluntarism, things like that, it's really hard to see this laughed about. They're making jokes about it. And 10, 15 years ago when I saw this, I was like, oh, that's funny, ha, ha, ha. I imagine you had a similar difference of your viewpoint? Oh, yeah. I was impossible to see the humor. I still thought that some of the scenes worked in, like, kind of a sketch format. I think this is a movie that works best as, they're a sketch comedy group, right? So they had an idea. Maybe they wrote some sketches that really worked well. They were pretty funny. Maybe like especially the intro, the very first scene. Is actually pretty dang funny. So, but then when they try and expand it into a movie, a lot like a lot of the other Saturday Night Live movies, that started off as a single sketch and then they try to turn it into a movie. The story just didn't work for me. We're definitely going to get into that and why it didn't work for me. But like you said, also the fact that I'm a voluntarist advocates for freedom, watching these road pirates terrorize and assault these people and rob them and think it was funny and think that they are noble and doing a great job and that they are a necessary thing and how wonderful they are was just disgusting. I couldn't get into the humor because I was just too revolted by these characters thinking that they were, like I said, necessary and good and that they were protecting anybody, especially when the story is about them robbing people who are trying to service a need. The movie is about them robbing drug dealers. And if you know anything about freedom, you know that people have a right to put into their bodies whatever they wish. They own themselves. They own their own bodies.
and they will use their own discretion about how much harm that does to them or how much harm it does to another, like, say, through neglect. I mean, I'm not saying that a parent can get high on heroin and it's totally fine. I'm not saying that's fantastic. But if you got some kid who is taking some weed, and of course they soft pedal that. I mean, they're okay with some kids smoking some weed, but then anybody who's trying to sell that weed, they're going to get and arrest and steal their products. And they justify it. Well, they would have done it anyway, but as the plot of the story, the movie goes, the Super Troopers are in dire straits, and they're about to get cut, and they should be, of course. But according to the movie, they need to, establish that they are necessary because, you got to rob the taxpayers. I mean, what else are you going to do? You're a road pirate. You got to pirate. So they've got to show how necessary they are by putting a show to the mayor and the governor that, hey, look at all these drugs that we're stealing from people. What a good job we're doing. You need us. It was gross, man.
Yeah, and a point that got out to me was when they were talking about them getting shut down as a possibility. Their response was, well, who's going to bust heads on the highway? Local cops?
Yeah, that's super necessary.
Yeah, and they're literally just using their authority to threaten and fuck with people and talking down to them. They do the meow gag, and sure, it's funny in watching it with the Jim Gaffigan, and they try to say meow to him 10 times, and then I think another person, or maybe it is the meow one. Does he call him boy?
Could have. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah. He's like, stop mouthing off to me, boy. That kind of a thing. It's like totally shitty to people. But I don't want to take this totally into dark space because it is a comedy, and there is actual, truly funny bits. Like you said, the opening scene is pretty good. And there was a moment in the very open where the guys are talking, the high school kids, college kids, whatever, are talking to each other. They're talking about, like, a beach, and nobody owns the water. It's God's water. But if you could own the water and something happened, then some girl could sue you because it was your property. Did that stick out to you at all? Did you even notice that?
Oh, yeah. It's the very first dialogue in the movie. The very first scene is these kids talking about property rights. So I instantly glommed onto that. And I thought it was interesting that they were even discussing it, because I don't think kids today, man, do I sound old when I say that phrase, would even discuss that sort of a thing. But it is fun for them to just, debate it. But then, right after that, they get into this debate about essentially property rights and homesteading and how you can own things or not, or if it's a good idea to own things, or how do you own things. Then, the cops drive by, or they're slowly drive by, and they freak out because they are in possession. They're holding, right? And the guy in the front seat asks the guy in the back seat to eat his pot, to get rid of it, eat it. So the guy does, and then they get pulled over, and the cops mess with them, scare them, threaten them with murder if they don't. But the scene is actually kind of funny because it's all timed into, as if the cops could hear them. So that was actually pretty cute. But then when it turns out that the cops are, fine, they're not going to bust them or whatever, then the guy in the front seat's like, okay, you owe me for that pot now. And I was like, that is not how that works. If you ask somebody to do a thing with your property, like eat it, and the only reason he eats it is because you asked him to, he does not then owe you for that money, for that pot.
Right, and he was doing you a solid, He was like trying to help you out there because you didn't want to get caught by the authorities having something that is a no-no that you're not supposed to have. So if anything, he was providing a service to him, but he's like, hey man, that was like $130 worth of drugs. I'm going to need that $130, bro.
Yeah, exactly. He was providing a service to that guy to help it so him not having to do like jail time or whatever. And then that was just, it was a strong scene, ridiculous by multiple characters in the scene, but I think the movie falls steeply downhill after the opening scene.
Well, let's take the opening scene a little bit further because it does get actually really good when the Miata speeds by and yells something obscene at them, and Thorny says, "Mother of God," and they chase him.
Right. Yeah, that was pretty cute. Yeah, I count the entire opening scene up to the point at which is revealed that the guy in the Miata is just another one of the Super Troopers, and that up to that point, then it's no good. Sorry.
Well, that ends with your
childhood.
You boys like Mexico? I mean, that's good stuff right there. He pretends like he's in a shootout with the cops, and then he gets into the car, steals the cop car, and drives those kids around, tries to scare them.
Yeah, and, as the movie is just a series of sketches, if it were just a series of those kind of sketches, this would be, I think, a perfectly fine movie. It'd be more like a like a Tom Green movie, or what was that movie where they just kind of hit each other in the balls? Those are just a series of sketches, right? Jackass?
Oh, Jackass, yeah. I thought you were referencing Ow My Balls from Idiocracy.
Close. But yeah, if it was like that, if it was just that opening scene and, very different variations of that sort of thing, I thought it would have been, perfectly fine, even though I would have objected to, the road piracy. But, yeah, when it turned into a movie, it falls down. And I'm guessing that the Super Troopers 2 is going to be similar.
Yeah, I think they're going to recycle a lot of the old jokes, all the quotable lines that people will remember, and little nods and things like that. But, even in this... go ahead.
Have these guys done any movies in between since then? I mean, this movie's pretty old.
Yeah, they've done a few.
15 years ago or something? They have done.
Yeah, they did Club Dread, Beer Fest, and I want to say one other one.
Okay, I have heard of those movies.
For a 15 or 16-year, 17-year hiatus, it's not like super productive movie-wise, so I'm not sure what else these guys have been up to. But, I mean, they're clearly, they've got some chops, they're pretty funny guys. But even within the humor, even within that first scene that we just talked about and enjoyed, they're still using their quote-unquote authority and an implicit threat of murder to evoke fear in order to fuck with the people. They even say to the kids, like, you smell something, rabbit? Fear. And they know it. They know that the people that they're stopping are doing it because if they don't, then it's going to escalate and get really, really bad really quickly. And he does the whole littering and, smoking the reefer.
Yeah, and that's how, if they had made this movie about anything else, I probably would have been far more on board with it. But you have these characters who are acting just despicably, threatening and, intimidating people. And then they have the gall to kind of paint them as like the underdogs against the city cops, and there's like the heroes against the city cops. And I was just disgusted by everybody's fear. In fact, these city cops were the ones that were actually protecting the drug smugglers. So I was like, well, good for you, city cops. You're running protection for these guys who need protection from the pigs. Good job. I mean, they're not everybody's like, it's not super clear-cut good guys and bad guys, but to try and make us get behind, like I've said a million times on this podcast, you need to establish an emotional connection with the audience if you want to get behind and care about these characters. And when you have the characters acting so badly, behaving so badly, and thinking themselves as being so good, then you're just lost to me. I don't care about you. I don't care what you do or what you say. Nothing you're going to do. Anytime you try and be funny, it's going to be, the jokes are just not going to land like they should. So I think these guys are talented. I think they could have done a better movie. They probably have done better movies, although this is, I think, their most notable work for, Joe, average six-pack guy. But for me, it's just, no, you're not gonna ingratiate yourself to me with a bunch of authoritarian assholes acting authoritarian and thinking they're funny.
Right, and the joke was that they're bored and lazy, and so they're trying to make make fun of it or have fun with it. That's kind of the whole thing. Like they're screw-off types who are authoritarian road pirates, and so that's what's supposed to be funny about them.
Right.
But they're still doing the implicit threats of murder, so it does make it fall flat for me. And I feel a little bit bad for our audience who wanted to hear like something funny and a quote fest about a cult classic movie like this, and we're just giving them a shit trash talk about the premise here. But there is a dead girl in a Winnebago with the Johnny Chimpo tattoo. Now that is a crime. So in that respect, they're actually doing something that would happen in a in a free society, right? Like try to look into that.
Did they even solve it? That whole plot point was just an excuse for them to find the drugs and then to discover that the drugs were being smuggled through the area.
With the Johnny Chimpo stickers, the Afghanistan animation.
Right, but then the murder was forgotten, wasn't it? I don't remember it ever being even discussed, let alone solved.
They did mention it at the end, towards the end, that Galifianakis, I think that was the truck driver's name, that they said that he had killed her and that they were apparently aware of that, or that was their suspicion. But it didn't really tie that up. No, not at all. It was just
saying that the city cops knew. Is that what the implying was? That since they were working with them, that they knew?
Yes. I think that's what the implication is.
Okay.
That they knew that she had been murdered by the drug dealers, and they were letting it slide. And then they were helping the drug dealers smuggle the drugs from Canada, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so yeah, you're right. If there is a crime like that, there would be some sort of response to it, surely, of course. There would be people who care about that woman, and there would also be people who would care about murders happening in their area that would not want to see that thing happen. So certainly in a free society, I know I would contribute to any kind of an investigation. And with a market mechanism in place, there would be people, the best would rise to the top for the cheapest price, and there would probably be, levels of service like there are today, but far better. But, yeah.
Yeah, and just historically speaking, there actually have been cases of vigilante justice being the predominant method in a geographic area. Like, think of the Wild West. During the gold rush, San Francisco sprang up from about 100 population in 1844 to over 20,000 by 1849 as a result of the gold rush. And there wasn't enough time to get the governmental apparatus and bureaucratic infrastructure in place. So there were market involuntary responses to crime and solving for crime. And then finally, when the government stepped in and put marshals and sheriffs and everyone in place, they were also abusing that power, like we see in Super Troopers here. And one of the marshals actually killed an innocent man, and he was tried in the government's court and acquitted. But then, because there was already this established presence of the Vigilance Committee that was the free market solution, they then tried this marshal and found him guilty and hung him.
So like we say, the market solution is almost always better. And there's a reason why. I mean,
I'll post a link to that.
In isolated incidents, I mean, the government is still made up of human beings, and there can be mistakes made on both sides. We're not saying this situation be perfect, but overall, allow people to choose which they prefer, and you'll see quality improve in service.
Indeed, yeah, and I'll post the story of that down below in the show notes page, because it is kind of an interesting thing to look into, because you always hear about how the Wild West was like so violent and evil, but it was actually not the case, and it was clearly when the government got involved and that they were able to, there was a thing in place to be corrupted and to protect bad actors within that corruption, which we see in this movie here.
Yeah.
All right, so shifting gears on here.
Oh, and there's an incentive for the law enforcement to have a high crime rate, to not actually solve crimes or to incentivize crime. Not to say that there isn't also an incentive for them to solve crimes, because there is on an individual level and through a general sort of anger, I guess you could say, through the population, kind of some kind of a social pressure. But there isn't any real mechanism other than, say, every couple of years, you vote in and out of sheriff, I guess. But other than that, there really isn't a whole lot of incentive for government law enforcement to have a low crime rate, because these are people that want job security. Yeah,
the war is meant to be perpetual.
Yeah, I mean, if you were running a government, police department, yeah, you'd want to show that you're doing something, but you wouldn't want to be able to show, look, you don't even need us.
Yeah, in the movie they were talking about their quotas for tickets, and the captain was like, yeah, how many did you do, Rabbit? And he said, I don't know if it was Rabbit, it was the other guy, but he didn't know, and he goes, 3. You did 3 all month. So they were underperforming that quota. But you're right, if they solve the problem that they're there to allegedly solve, then they wouldn't be justified in being there any longer.
Yeah, and nobody likes it when their job gets, made obsolete or whatever, so they don't really have a whole lot of incentive. Whereas in a market situation, you'd have competing forces, and and there would be more of an incentive to solve the crime or do the job that you're actually tasked with, because you actually have to answer to your customers. You actually have customers that can withdraw their support if you're not performing. Whereas with a government monopoly, they get paid regardless. Whether they catch 1 million murders or they catch 0 murderers, they get paid the same. In fact, they probably get paid more if they don't catch any, because then they'll say, look, we got so many murders. We need more people. We need more money. We need more funding. We need better police cruisers and trinkets and toys and better surveillance methods and blah, blah, blah. We need bigger budgets. So it's a method of failing forward, which is what government does spectacularly.
Yeah, that's the bureaucratic method. Do a shit job and complain that you're understaffed and underfunded.
Yep. And we would never really know if they really were understaffed or underfunded, because there's no market mechanism to compare it to. But you can assume that they're not.
All right, and I think a person that we've both listened to in the past has coined the term crime historians, and that's what police actually are. There's a stat that another friend of mine looked into. related to that bumper sticker slogan of when you need the police and seconds count, the police are minutes away, and it means that you're kind of responsible for your own self-defense. He said that the research showed that only 3% of crimes were responded to in time via 911 for the police to even get involved. In 97% of cases, it already happened, already over and done with.
Yeah, I mean, what do? They show up, they cordon off the area, they take a bunch of pictures, they guess as to what happened, they take some evidence, but did they actually save anybody? And, they're not even incentivized to save anybody. I mean, just the other day, there was a kid who got trapped in a minivan and suffocated to death after, 2 911 calls, and they couldn't find him. In a market situation, that might be enough for somebody to withdraw their support. But in today's day and age, with the government, you can't. You can't look at that ineptness and go, sorry, I'm going to go try something else. I'm going to go pay for somebody else who might do a better job. You have to. You are forced at the point of a gun to pay for these people. And I'm not even saying that a market situation maybe would have saved that kid. Maybe would have found him. Maybe it would have. Maybe it wouldn't have. But you can't withdraw your support to somebody who is basically like the Keystone Cops. You just can't, because they are forcing you to. And that's really what I object to.
All right. Well, moving on. I want to change gears a little bit, because Thorny is a certain ethnicity, and I don't even know what it is. But they make note of it several times. He makes quips about having, they say, oh, you've got that black magic. He says brown magic. And then he says something about the city cops try to order like tacos and quesadillas from him because they think he's Mexican. And Rabbit's like, oh, you're
right.
not? But there's a few mentions of this, and I'm just wondering if that could still be done today. I mean, I guess we'll find out on Thursday when Super Trooper 2 comes out, if they can do this kind of stuff still, like talking about race and issues like that, so flippantly.
Yeah, very flippantly. I don't know. We live in such a PC world. I mean, hopefully I know Canada, I don't know how plugged into leftist Canada thought they are, but Canada is very much a very PC, social justice kind of a place. They've elected some sort of a social justice man-child to lead them, and they're front and center with all the crazies coming out of the universities these days. With all the flack Jordan Peterson is getting. But, yeah, we'll see. I don't know. Nothing really struck me as too much like some of the movies from the 80s do that are just like, whoa, you could not get away with that these days. But it was still, this is definitely from an earlier era. We'll see if they will even go there with these new movies. This new movie.
Yeah, I'm sure he could get away with calling them white devils again. His fellow
Nobody
fellow
cares
officers.
about that. Nobody cares about white people.
All right, so let's talk about the assault at the restaurant. The restaurant where he orders a burger and the kid says, 1 cheeseburger, it's for a cop.
Yeah, I actually like that. That was a good scene. That was another good sketch scene. What's the big fat cop's name?
Farva.
I don't remember. Farva. Farva. That's right. So yeah, there's been a couple of restaurants in our area that have made the news for not serving cops, and I think there was one in like New Jersey, and you always get a whole bunch of flag waving people that are super indignant about anybody who would dare not serve somebody who might have a fundamental disagreement on the ethics of their profession. But in this movie they have a different method of dealing with cops, which is equally also good and also funny, like you already said. So they, if you are an asshole, a professional asshole who makes a living off of stealing and threatening people, maybe you're not going to get, the greatest service or treatment from other people who might resent you. Because, like I said before, it matters how you treat people. And people will resist in any way they feel they can. They can safely do so while still being able to go home at night. And this movie features some kids who don't like this Farva guy. They probably don't like any of these cops, rightfully so. And so, yeah, they spit in the food probably. And, I think you pay a social cost. You pay a social cost for being a dick. It's called the dick tax. And these cops are paying it. And they take their own health into their own hands when they go and eat at a public place. You might get hepatitis. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and I did like
I think this is why it's bad. When you publicly shame these restaurants into saying, "Oh no, we'll serve you." you know, because it's like the overt racism versus covert racism. You want it to be overt. You want to know, if you're a cop, you want to know going into a restaurant whether they like you or not. Oh, they don't serve me here? Okay, then thank you for telling me that. I will go somewhere else where they're not going to spit in my food. Whereas if you publicly shame them, like which constantly happens in social media whenever anything like this happens, then cops are going to go in there and they're going to get their food spat in or whatever, worse. I don't know if you've seen the movie Waiting. It gets worse. They can do worse things. In fact, that's been in the news where people have gotten all kinds of terrible things. Semen-covered pizza or whatever it was, or spaghetti. I don't know. You know.
Oh, man, that's gross.
The Alfredo sauce, you know how it is.
Hey, how was the pale ale?
Yeah, another one. So I think it's a strategy. It's a bad strategy move for a cop to publicly shame someplace that won't serve them or doesn't like them. Which they do. I think there was like a Dunkin' Donuts lady who said we don't serve cops, and I'm not even sure if that's even true what happened. But then, of course, the employee gets fired because you can't do that. You can't tell one of these god creatures that you don't serve them. And then, like I said, I'm just repeating myself at this point, so let's move on, unless you have something to add, Daniel.
Well, I did like the kid continuing to make fun of him about his ordering of a liter of cola, and he's like, do we have a liter of cola? What's a liter of cola? And he asks him if he wants to supersize for only 25 cents more, and Farva says, you want me to punch-size your face?
Yeah, so what do you think about how the kids got back at him?
Well, Farva beat him up, so...
No. Before that, they did something to his cola.
Oh yeah, with the little scratch ticket thing, or peel up, see if you won. Yeah, and they have the hole in there, the little glory hole in there, so the soda would drink out or leak out on him.
Right, so it spills all over him.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty dick. That's pretty rude. But
yeah, it was.
He also
then of course Farva went way too far in retaliation.
Oh yeah, he assaulted him. And then when the captain was berating him, he's like, "Back in my day, we'd beat you with a hose." But now you got your goddamn unions.
Yeah.
And Farva was like, I'm not a union guy. Funny stuff. So the next thing I have on here is, another kind of funny quote, and that is when they pull over the truck driver and they both get into the back of the tractor trailer, and he locks them in there. And then Thorny shows up, a few hours later and says, "It smells like sex in here."
Yeah, I mean, there are some good, funny moments if you can get past, which is why it probably helps to be, intoxicated in some way. Do you have more? If you got more notes, that's fine. I've got one note that is we could actually talk about probably.
Yeah, let's do your note, and then let's talk about the shooting range, because that was a prime example of what not to do on a shooting range or with a firearm ever. Okay.
Well, my note's at the very end of the movie, so let's do your shooting thing first.
All right. So the guy who was driving the Miata and did the You Boys Like Mexico, he gets buck naked and wears like a armor-plated cup and has people shoot him in the cup for fun. And Thorny's like, he's a crack shot, and so he hits it every time without even like aiming. But when the captain showed up, he's like, we used to do this prank back in my day. And he shoots the gun and it shatters the window. He's like, but we used blanks. So it was meant to be like a hazing ritual way back when he was younger, and they would use blanks just to like scare the rookies. But here's, these guys, and they literally are like crazy people doing dangerous, stupid stunts. So don't ever do that.
Either one is horrific. The hazing is probably worse because at least this one is, he knows what's happening. This is all voluntary. It's stupid and it's borderline suicidal, but at least he knows what's happening. He's voluntarily doing it, right?
Yeah, open bar, dude.
Yeah, it's fine. I was kind of rooting for him to shoot him. I mean,
right.
You do something that's stupid.
It is really stupid. And then let's get into your note.
Okay, so at the very end of the movie, you've got a bunch of drunk main characters, and they're at like a small airport or something like that, right? Is that right?
Yes. Okay,
so they're at some little airport, some rinky-dink little thing, and they're hiding in the bushes, and they're debating about what to do. And all the cops, I think they're not cops anymore, right? They're all whatever. But then Farva shows up, and all the main characters are like, we're going to go arrest these drug dealers. And Farva goes, with what? Your super citizen power? And that line stuck out to me because, just because you're a cop, you don't have any rights, any special rights that other people don't have. It doesn't grant you some sort of godhood status. You can't do things that would be immoral for another person to do. So if you see there's some horrific crime being committed, and I don't think there is one, they are trafficking some, they're taking some goods, taking them from one location and putting them into another location, and they're servicing a customer need base, but whatever. But yeah, just because you put on a badge and wear some blue costume doesn't grant you special arresting right or God powers. So, Farva's just showing his stupidity again for the 500th time in the movie. But yeah, that line stuck out to me. Did you notice that line?
Oh, certainly I did. Yeah, it was shortly after the Denim Dan Canadian tuxedo line that Farva said to the captain.
The Canadian tuxedo line was funny. I'll grant him that. That was good stuff.
But yeah, and I didn't understand, okay, so they take Farva's blow-up doll and put it on the top of the car and drive the car towards the cops and the drug smugglers, and they shoot at the car, and then they get into a fist fight, and then it's over.
Yeah, the movie ends in a way in which they go, okay, these guys just ran out of ideas. This is like a sketch movie where the sketch just kind of devolves, and you would normally just move on to a new sketch, but they're like, oh crap, we have to come up with an ending.
Yeah, we gotta wrap it up. Wrap it up, Pete.
It's like, okay, yeah, real dumb. Didn't make any sense. Of course, don't think about it. Just glad the movie's over. But then, then the movie ends with another terrible scene as they're busting some underage drinkers at a house. The same guys that they terrorized early in the beginning of the movie with the pot. And it's just like, you guys think you're the good guys? What? I don't know. It just bugged me.
Yeah, so this was after their fist fight to bring down the drug smugglers, and then they got a letter from the governor who said, hey, congratulations, you really showed fine police work in the war on drugs, yada, yada. You're so amazing, but we're still going to shut you down. And one of them was like, oh, we're going to buy you a tank, is what he was hoping he would say.
Mm-hmm.
But they still got shut down. So then they go undercover later, months later or whatever, as St. Anki keg delivery. And the guys that they had pulled over earlier are having a party at their house. And when they realize that they had lost their super trooper job, their trooper job, then the guys are kind of dicks to them, or dicks back to them, right? Because the cops were originally dicks to them months and months before.
Right. So we're supposed to sympathize with the cops at that point? They're there to bust a high school party, a high school kegger party. Are you kidding me? What? This is what they're using their tax dollars for? To bust high school kegger parties? Disgusting. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, and actually in the credits, they're listed as college student 1, college student 2, college student 3. So, if that's the case, then they're technically of legal age to be adults. So, really...
Right, they're probably under some arbitrary drinking age.
Yeah.
They're probably 18, 19.
18, 19, or 20. And that, of course, allows the law to get involved. But yeah, then they, strip off their delivery uniforms and reveal that they are now the Spurbury Police Department, because the other ones apparently got all arrested and lost their jobs as a result of running protection for the drug smugglers.
Right.
So that's the end of the movie. This episode went a little sideways, a little different than I thought it was going to go, because I really did think we were going to do another quote fest like we did for Lebowski and for Billy Madison. But this is still good, and I still enjoyed the movie. Let's just go ahead and do a final summary and review here, and I'll start. I still enjoyed the scenes, like you were saying earlier, like the sketch comedy kind of bits, though it's peppered in between with the gross abuse of power. And I guess that's what sets the stage for them to be able to be funny, because the recipients of their pranks are pulled over in fear of what power these people hold over them, right? And that's what allows this to even happen. So it's a weird situation to be in, to look back on it now and still kind of see some humor in it, but then also see the pure evil that it is. So I'm very conflicted on this. I think in my younger years, I would have given this like a 7 or an 8, but I'm down to like a 2 on this, just because of it's sticking in my craw, So how about for you?
Yeah, so my problem with this movie, in fact, even worse, this movie gets even worse than like all those police procedures. And anytime you get a movie where the cop is the hero, it just, all it does is it normalizes cops as good people, and of course everybody likes to be the hero in their own story and thinks they're doing good and just wants to provide for their families and blah blah blah. But I'm sorry, how you do it matters. If you aggress against people and you threaten and you intimidate and steal from them in order to earn a living, you're not a hero. You're not a good person. So this movie, and then it may try to make it, tries to make it funny. So not only is it normalizing this horrific behavior, it's telling you that, haha, it's funny, and you should laugh about it. and there's nothing really to take seriously here. This is just a thing that people do, and they're good and they're heroes, and haha, isn't it great and funny? And there's no way they could ever do better than this. So, yeah, this movie, maybe back when I watched it pre-Liberty days, was probably more like a 6 or a 7, and enjoying it, like I said, for the little bits. But, yeah, this is like a 2.5, maybe a 3. Because, you can enjoy it. You can watch it maybe altered and just enjoy it for some of the bits. But as a critic, I got to take it for the whole thing. And from my perspective, this is a big steaming turd.
All right, so 2 steaming turds from the Last Nighters here. And so we're going to wind this one down, and appreciate you joining us for this one. Not sure if we can recommend checking out Super Troopers 2, but perhaps it'll have some funny nods like we had mentioned earlier. So that's coming out on 4/20, ha ha ha, inside joke. But I'll say good night from last night.